It's a girl, NENECHERRY. Sparkle in love with a dash of kindness. If it's your first time tuning in, you are welcome. And I hope that you're going to stay by hitting the subscribe button and the notification button so that when I upload a new video, you will be among the MVPs because you will be the first one to see the video when I upload it, right? Okay. So now we're diving into what we're supposed to talk about, and it's something very close to my heart, and it's about children's mental health, rather emotional mental health. And I know most of the times we don't really think about that. We think as though children don't have feelings. And I know you don't say or think that they do not have feelings, but it feels like they can get away with a lot of things, or maybe they don't get to stress or think about um, life itself in general. And now, in my area of talk right now, it's about how sometimes we abuse these children, and not just psychologically, sometimes even physical. And it's something that has just been sitting on, rather in my heart, because it's something that came to, um, right, it came to me, not just in the thought, but obviously somebody sharing, and I was so devastated. And if there's anything that I do not like, or if I may say, because I'm the lioness, right? So if you touch my tail, it's when you touch the children. And I'm not just talking about maybe even on a sexual side of abuse, but I'm talking about on a physical abuse where they may be beating or just mistreating. It's something that, well, it just breaks my heart. Okay. And just think about what these children are thinking when you're doing that. But now I think I've just made it on a general thing, and you'll be thinking, okay, so what are we talking about? So, emotional mental health state of the child. Okay. I will begin like this. Talking to the parent, if you're a parent or you're aspiring to be a parent, these are the things that you need to put in place or to think about before or when you're having a child, or you have a child already, right? And if it's something that you skipped, it's something that you need to be thinking about. First of all, learn to apologize for things that you have done. I know sometimes it may look like, okay, but this is what the word is teaching to say, okay, children are to be seen and to be heard. And yes, it's important that they are seen and they are heard, because at the end of the day, these children that we're raising are not our children, it's God's children, and they are children of the society as well. For they will grow up and get into the world, right? And because of the environment, and if, or maybe let me just also take it back to this sense that, do you know that most of the problems that we have in this world, it's on a foundational source? And when I say it's on a foundational source, it began in the home. Most of these adults that we are seeing out here, with the calamities that we're seeing, with the, you know, the bad guys that we're seeing, or whatever problems that we're seeing in the world, most of it started because at home people were sleeping. And when I'm saying sleeping, they were not doing what they were called for. And when I say called for, it's when you are blessed to father a child, when you are blessed to mother a child. It is not just something that you can do because your body is right, or that because you are able to do it, but you must take it seriously, because God gives you this blessing. God gives you this blessing that you may nurture, that you may train to become, for the child to become somebody in this world, and also for the kingdom to come. So now it starts with us as parents. Most of the times we do so much, and we get away with it because we say, I said so, and because I'm a parent, you know. And truth be told, I am a parent, and I'm sure you're watching this. There are times when we are wrong. There are times that we overstep, and there are times when we overdo things, right? And it's in the Bible where, I think it's in Philippians, where it says, parents, do not provoke your children. And there are times when we just do it anyway, because I'm the parent, the child needs to understand. And then this generation that we're living in, and I know that somewhat things that are being done is not how it was done in my time, and it's also not how it was done in my parents' time. But I am a strong believer that yes, generations change, but the principle is still the same. So your goal as a parent is to teach, um, to build character, so good character, and grooming these children to become Christ-like children, right? And grooming them for the kingdom of God. You're teaching them respect. You're teaching them discipline. And if anything, this is the best education that a parent could ever give to their children. Just imagine you push them to school and they pass and they excel in their academics. But without them having their home training, without them having discipline, without them being respective to other people, I mean, that department of academics is also quite nothing because they do not know how to gel with other people. They do not know how to live actually with themselves as well. So we need to put in an effort that we make it a point that we teach our children the things that actually God wants us to do to them. All right. God could have given anybody else, but He chose you. God could have given somebody that actually is really in need of a child, but He gave you. Because maybe you have four, maybe you have 10, you have, maybe even just one, and then He gives you a second child, and you be like, you actually take it for granted. Okay. And yet there are others that are praying to say they could have children, and then we overstep their boundaries. Okay, so number one, as a parent, learn to apologize when you are wrong. We teach our children to actually say sorry at an early stage. I do not know about you, but this is what I do to my children at the time when they're just way little young, little and young and really it's still the same thing. But I know that you get what I'm trying to say. But when they are young, we are always teaching them to, like, what, say sorry, or say thank you, or say that even when they do not mean it. And I love children, and I've seen how children just react. There are times when they do not even want it, but we force them and say, hey, say sorry to your friend. Like, oh, no, sorry. And then it becomes a natural thing to say as time goes by. But if we are teaching our children to do that, why can't we also do that? Because I think it's a most difficult, if anything, sorry is a most difficult thing to say when you're an adult, because most of the times we have learned on how to justify things, and we have learned on how to play with our own emotions. And I know you'll be like, how do you play with your own emotions? It's for the fact that you're in your feelings right now, so therefore you'll be like, I'm not going to say sorry because you hurt me. I know sometimes it hurts, but you are supposed to own up. You own up and you apologize. And this is also taking me way back into the Bible, all right, where Adam and Eve sinned. I wonder, and I think I also talked about it in my previous videos, if you could look it up. I wonder, yeah, so there, if you could look it up, I think it was on Sin video, right? So I wonder if Adam and Eve had actually apologized other than blamed the serpent for giving them the fruit. Because remember, they knew that they were not supposed to do that, but they decided to take part. So now, I just wonder if they had said, you know what, God, we messed up and we are sorry. I am a true believer in, not even that I'm a true believer, but I want to believe that, you know what, it would have been a different story, okay? It would have been a different story because maybe the consequences would have been there because at the end of the day, they had sinned, all right? Just like with the kids, when they do something, the consequence has to be there. But it will be different to see when you see that your child is remorseful for all the things that they have done. So even the punishment itself might not be the same way if they had to show attitude like they do not care. You know what I mean? So same thing goes with us as well as parents. Children get hurt. We hurt them. And there are times that I was laughing when I was talking with a friend where they were like, okay, now their children, they're older in now. Okay, so she was giving a story, right? I don't know, I'm not getting it right, but listen. She was telling me a story of a certain family and everything. And then now that the children are grown, these children are now like mistreating their parents. They do not even care. The kids are not even doing anything for for their parents and everything. And the parent is complaining because they're looking back to saying, how I suffered for you, how I did this and did that. And I know it's quite sad, and I hope that those children would change. But it's more likely that the children are doing that because of the upbringing that they received from these same parents. Sometimes we do things in thinking that we are giving the kind of love that the other person needs, yet the other person is not seeing any love at all. Even in relationships, this is why it's good to check in. Like, you'll be like, okay, dude, are you, if it's your partner, and I know I'm saying dude, but yeah, you'll be like, okay, are you okay in the way that we are living? Are you happy with our relationship? Is there any way we can improve it? And you'd find that most of the times there are certain things that maybe your partner doesn't like that you've been doing, but then you've been together for some time and you've kept on going. So it's the same thing with your children as well. The only good side, I think, with children, and this is why I think Jesus was saying, let the children come to me, for the kingdom is, it's theirs. If I may put it this way, it's because today you do something, all right this minute you do something, in another second you'll be laughing with them and everything. But the thing is that you must understand that mind and the devil itself plays tricks. So they might forget at this point in time, and maybe when they're way too young they might not even remember. But if we're talking about a 7-year-old going up to the teenagers, to the kids that are in their 20s, when they're still living with you, these things stay in their minds. And when they are quiet and when they are idle, they start replaying in their minds. And then depending on who they are in Christ, they start, um, you know, they begin to conform, or rather they begin to listen to what the mind is telling them, and they begin to act out to that. So I am urging parents to ask for forgiveness when you know you are wrong. I am one of the person that does that. I know maybe I'd snapped at my kid, and I thought maybe she's the one that did something, and then only to find she wasn't. And maybe, okay, I'll just give you an example. Maybe a cup breaks, and just because she was in the kitchen and I hear the cup breaking, and I'll be like, she's the one who did. So I'm going off on her, or I'm getting upset about that, and only to find that no, actually she was in the kitchen, but the cup was in the cupboard on its own, because things do happen. For some reason, the cup broke, and she had nothing to do with that. And now, when you realize that, okay, she had nothing to do with that, what do you do? Do you just let it be to say, okay, you know what? Okay, and most of the times that's what we do. It's like, okay, went off, I didn't know. And sometimes even your apologies will be like, well, I didn't know that it was you. So, I mean, this is why I got upset. And then they should understand. And you should also understand that uh, a human mind is fully developed at 28 years. Like a 28 years old. All right. Hence, this is why they tell you to say, when you are like in your 20s, don't rush, don't make hasty decisions, because by then your mind is not like fully developed to make concrete of some, do you say subsequential? I don't know, making something that is solid, right? Like in decision making. Therefore, they tell you do not rush. So by the time when you're like 28 years old, that's when your brain or your mind or your logic of thinking is solid. This is why you'd find that most of the times, even for men, for women, most of the times they'll say maybe around 25, because their hormones and their maturity just flares up. And for men, maybe in that same age, 28 going to 30s, that's when they even begin to think of settling down. So this is what they normally advise. And on a psychological and scientific side, they tell you that a mind, and well, I stand to be corrected, but I think one time when I was reading, I had found out this way, like a mind of a human being is fully developed when they are like 28 years old. Now imagine if that's the case. So look at the child from birth to even maybe 27 years of age. what they will be doing, how their logic, like their mind, their thinking capacity is like. So please let us be careful in what we do. And I also bring in where it said, do unto others that what you want them to do unto you. So this also applies with the children. Now, moving on as well, if you are either a stepmother, or even when you're just a mother or an auntie or a sister that is taking in um, someone's child, or if it's your child as well, because maybe sometimes kids can be wayward in some way, and so because of our feelings there's a lot of friction there, and so if there's a lot of friction there, we don't see any good that they do. It's now time, okay, it's now time not to think of the bad things that they do, or rather I would say learn to appreciate at least for the good things that they do and work around those. There are times, and it's often known when you look into psychology, that most of the kids that act out, it is because they are seeking for attention. All right, they are seeking for attention. But now, yes, just as being human, you'd be like, but why can't they just come out and say, okay, I need love, okay? Or I need this, instead of them acting out in a certain way. We're going back into their mental capacity of thinking, all right? And remember, our topic is about the emotional state of children. And I know you'd be like, well, 28 is not a child. They are children to their parents. Huh? Even you who's 35, you're a child to your parent. But I'm not looking at that, because by the time you hit 30, I mean, you must know better, you know? So now think about that. Just really think about that. So there's some people, all right, there's some people that cannot differentiate, um, of knowing that, okay, this child is actually acting up because of some sort of a reason. And then they just hold on to that and they say, this child is so terrible. This child is just too sensitive. Oh, this child is just like that. And the child keeps on listening to this. And then they begin to believe that thing. And if you're a parent that is quite vulgar in how you speak, so they just hear that, okay, you're a foolish person, oh, you're very stupid, and they begin to believe this and say, yes, I am foolish, yes, I am crazy, yes, I am what, because those are the things that you are doing. And now that's just one side of the other kind of parents, maybe it a guardian, right? And then there are those who are always making children work and work and work, like they were just born to do stuff at home. There's a difference. Don't get me wrong. There's a difference between training your child in learning what to do, or making your child do everything of everything and of everybody when there are other people that can do it. That's abuse. I do not know if you understand it. So it's like me having, all right, my oldest daughter, and I can tell you of this, that my oldest daughter does the cleaning, yes, she does the cooking, and yes, sometimes she even looks after the sisters, right? And which is okay, because they're getting a home training at one point in time of her life, and which is coming very soon. She will be out of this home, and the only way she's going to survive in, I wanted to say in the wilderness, the way she's going to survive wherever she's going to be, it's from the little things that I have taught her. Same here. The little things that I know of how to take care of my home is what I did in my parents' home. I don't know if you understand that. And that's a total difference. And I'm not talking about, say, don't make children work or anything, but I'm talking about where there are other kids, right, in their home, but you're making just one child work for everyone's duty, and you're making that just one child do all the things, like, and on top of that, if nothing has been done, because a person needs to rest at least, once in a while, and actually even most of the times, in order for them to perform very well. And if you are going to be a fair parent, you need to know that even if, let's say, the adult one is 20 and the younger one is 15, or the other one is 12 or 10, each child has a role to play in a home. If you're saying they're just only four, they can't take a broom and sweep, then they can take the toys that they just splattered everywhere, that they can pick them up and put them in the basket. That's the way you teach them. But if you're gonna say now, because this oldest child is 20 And I do not know, for whatever reason, that you think that this child should be doing all these things, all these chores, and taking care of the home like no other, when there are others that can even do it, or even better still, yourself that can do. And they do it, they take care of people's laundry, they cook, they I don't know. And all these things that I'm mentioning about cooking, cleaning, and whatever, it's so good and they need to learn. But I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say, whereby you are overusing the person and you're only using one person over all these things, when these other kids, too, one, whom they are your kids, must also learn. I know that's a blessing in disguise in a way, because that person that you're overusing, maybe at this point in time, they all may also feel that burden of like, I'm always shouted at, I'm always told to do this, I'm always doing that, yet you're building them to become a greater person, because when they go there, it won't be new to them, because they know that, okay, you know what, I need to have a place cleaned, I need to do all sorts of things. So actually, it's a double abuse on the one that you're abusing into doing the work, and the ones that you are not trying to teach them to do the work. I don't know if you get it, because now you're raising lazy kids. So they know, for instance, they'll be like, Sister X or Brother X is the one that is always cleaning, is the one that is always doing this, is the one that is always doing that, versus them that us, we can only watch TV, we can read our books, we can lay down, we can play, yet this other one doesn't have that time. So now if you look at it, when you separate it, the one that is doing work, so it's on a physical abuse. And with these ones, I don't even know what you call it. It's also on a physical abuse, because they're not doing anything at all. So at the time when these ones will be leaving, going to whatever world they'll be going to, it'll be difficult for them, you know. And I've watched movies where it even shows about this, and it's quite terrible, you know. And now my cry, especially, is the one that you're overusing, because you know what, one, they are children and they also need to experience their childhood like a lively and beautiful childhood. And after all, childhood is just like this more, other than adulthood, because adulthood, it's longer and has a lot of responsibilities, versus when you are a child, and where you can just enjoy, it's this little, man. So can we give space to these children? Talk about emotional mental health or illness that these children have. Now, statistically, it shows that the suicides, the mental illnesses, if I may put it, it has gone on high, because these children are always conflicted. And you would find that mostly it's because of the parents. Okay? It is because of the parents. And then they don't even know whom they can run to, because at the end of the day, again, there are other parents who are so bad that even when you, they are mistreating their child, right? And then they see that this child is so much close to other people, be it it's their relatives or just friends out there, be it at church, be it at school, be it at home, and they are kind of close with them, then the parent begins to, you know, badmouth their own parent, and for me, their own child. And for me, when I see this, I don't know, maybe for the fact that I had the privilege to also study psychology, and also to what, to also learn about the early childhood development on children and everything. When I see a parent do that, I'm able to even sense that, okay, wow, all right, okay, this is something else. But obviously, I wouldn't tell the parent. Then I'll be able to see what can I talk to the child about, and what can I not, and what I can convey to the parents themselves, you know. And sometimes it's just your insecurities. Insecurities. I know that you know best, or you know better because you have experienced life, but it doesn't mean that you're an expert, all right, and that you know everything. Most of the times, if anything, you are wrong. And we are all learning, and each day we are learning, because we're human beings. Even these children, you know, once upon a time they were 4 years old, they acted different. Now they're 15, they're acting different. By the time they're 28, they'll be acting different. And it's a journey that you have to journey with your children in understanding them, how they think, how do you add can I say, any value to them. And you need to make sure that you're always positive. Yes, this world has got a lot of toxic people and negative people. You can show that side of it by explaining to them that yes, we have bad people. For instance, in a lame explanation will be that, hey, you don't talk to strangers because strangers are like this and strangers are like that, right? And we're teaching them because we do not want any harm for them to happen. But it will be worse when you are the one harming the children yourself, you know. So if you want to teach them about life, on how they need to cope in the world, yes, the world, not as people, but the world itself is bad, but not the people, or maybe half of the people, you know. So we must also, we must also, we must also teach our children the good, and also teach them that, okay, these are the bad things, and that they should be able to make their choice and guide them. And especially when you're like a child is starting from, I think, a teenager, and I would maybe say, we can safely say when they're like 15, from 15 going up there, you no longer tell them what to do, but you guide them in what they're supposed to be doing. The moment you begin to tell them that this is what you're supposed to do, that's where you begin to see rebelliousness. Because now the mind of a teenager will be like, okay, why are you stopping me from just giving an example? If you tell me, okay, instead of you telling me chocolate is bad because it's got a lot of calories and it will cause this and that, in my understanding, right? But then you come to me and tell me, don't eat chocolate. Okay, chocolate is bad. And then, but why is it bad? Because I mean, sweet, and we've been eating it maybe for some time. So why are you telling me that we do? Just I say so, don't do it. That child is likely to go and get that chocolate and eat in secret. Like simple, period. Okay? But if you can easily explain to them to say, okay, you see why I'm telling you that chocolate is bad? Well, it's because of this and it's because of that and that. And then hope and pray for them that they make the right decision. And you know that they'll be exercising their mind in knowing what is right, what is wrong, and what to choose and what to stand on and what to let go by themselves. And obviously, because you're praying, God will be also guiding them. And I'm sure if you are coming from a Christian woman and you'll be praying together, and you'll be even trying to sit down and ask them, like by the day as well, to like, if you want to get to know, rather, I'll talk about this later, but pray with them and sit with them. And now, if you want to get to know your children better, you cannot know your children when they're always spending their time at school or maybe at church or by their friend's place. And if you're not putting in any effort, you have to be intentional in sitting with them and, you know, going about the day, like asking them, how was your day? And finding out if everything was okay. And if they say it was okay, because I mean, with teenagers especially, when you say, how was the day? It was okay, it was fine. And your teacher, yeah, it was okay, and they do not want to have a further conversation, but then you let them, what made it okay, what was exciting, you know. And as they told us about, how would you have made it more lively? And if they say it was bad, it's okay, but what do you think that you would have changed and whatever. So by you talking, one, to them it will be showing that you care enough, and two, they'll be happy to know that I can freely come to you and talk to you about it. And that, you know, my mom loves to talk to me as well, because at the time, especially when they're teenagers, I mean, when they're kiddos, like, you know, 0 to 7 or 8, because some attitude starts by 9, all right? So between that time, they're always clinging with their parents. But when they start, like, you know, growing and everything, they're like, they want to detach themselves from their parents, and not because they feel like, okay, you don't understand them, and that feeling can only come because you don't spend that much of the time with them. But when you show that interest in being in, not in their face but in their life, and involving yourself in so many things with them, they will get to open up with you. And actually, it helps their mind. It really helps their mind. So um yeah, we need to get to know our children and make intentional um, moves in wanting to get to know them. You don't really have to go somewhere and spend a lot of money. Sometimes you can even just easily take a walk with your child, have a power walk with them, and maybe a prayer walk as well, and a smile and walk. All those kind of activities, or maybe just sit down together, watch a movie if it's a movie that you have to watch. If it's to read the Bible, and be fun, for crying out loud. You know, once when you were once a child, right? And you know what you really wanted to do at the time when they were their age. So how about you do it with them? And it becomes so exciting. I can tell you, even to yourself, because like you've been reliving your time in your children, when you see them jumping in and be thinking, this is what I wanted my parents to do. Well, so become the parent that you wanted to be for yourself to your child. Stop being so, what's the word? Do you say rigid, or being so so stiff, so I don't know, so controlling and angry and everything with the children, because you scare them. Even as much as they know that you're the parent, but they're scared to open up to you because you're always like that. I am not saying teach discipline. I am not saying teach telling them what is right, teach telling them whatever, or trying to make your child your friend. Because even at the end of the day, I mean, I can say, oh no, my children are my friends, or they can want to say, oh, my mom is my friend, but clearly they cannot be your friend, right? At the end of the day, just want to make a friendly, I don't even know how to explain it, where they are just free to be with you, but you are a parent after all. Even when your child says, oh, my mom is my best friend, it doesn't mean that then she has to like now look down on you. She can fight you anytime. She can say anything that she wants to say to you. No, but it's just about her being free to come and talk to you, her being free to share anything. So I am not saying that then you want to be like you're trying to compete with your child, whether you're best friends or you're friends, or then she can look down on you. And I'm not talking about that. Obviously, discipline has to be there. But remember, there's um, there's time for everything. Children should be free enough to know that we can joke with my dad, I can joke with my mom, I can joke with my auntie and everything. It doesn't need to be all the time, whereby I know of one whom I may not mention, where I remember when I went, and it was the time when I was young, when they would just say, oh, Mr. So, obviously, like if it's your uncle, if it's your aunt, because I don't want to say it, but this named parent, when they just say, okay, so and so has come, right? If you were in the lounge, everyone will scatter, everyone will get into their room quickly because they're there. You know how when he comes, everything, the atmosphere